Yo, so welcome back to another video, guys. So on this video, I'm basically gonna go over the top 5 lessons, mistakes that I learned all throughout 2023. And hopefully after watching this video, guys, you guys will learn a thing or two and just learn from my mistakes basically as we head into a brand new year in 2024, and really just take some notes on what I've gone through, and that way you can hopefully avoid some of these things and better your business for the better. So without further ado, guys, let's get straight into it. Be sure to smash that like button, drop a comment down below, let me know what you guys think, and let's just get into it. So number one, which I think is super important that you rarely hear anybody talk about, especially in the Amazon space, is how much important it is to keep track of any leakage in your business. All right, and this is probably mainly for arbitrage sellers in specific, because when I was doing OA, still in the beginning of the year, mid-year, as you start growing, you start hitting those bigger months, revenue months, 6-figure months, it gets much harder to track a lot of your inventory, right? You have to keep track of so many order numbers, tracking numbers. If you're ordering like 50 units of one product, you have to keep track whether you received all of them, in good condition. Because there will be times where we might receive a damage or two, and we'll get to it as far as reaching back out to replace it. And sometimes you get caught up in so much everything else that you really end up putting that to the side way longer than it needs to be. And then a day passes, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks. Next thing you know, you're just sitting on some inventory because you're not taking the time to actually handle it. Not to mention, once you prep and send those units into Amazon, you have to keep track of them at Amazon. So this could be from missing units from them, damaged units, all reimbursements, like all that stuff. So it's important to track this stuff, guys, because if you're not careful, you are leaking money from your business just from this aspect alone, okay? And this could lead you to tens, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars over time in lost inventory, damaged inventory, just not having the proper systems in place. And that was one important thing that we learned in 2023 was how to manage all those systems damages and whatnot. Now, one thing I did notice though too is that switching from OA into like basically complete wholesale now at this point, it is way much easier to keep track of that. So I think maybe just the model in general is harder to maintain at scale. But again, that's just from me, my experience, my opinion. But regardless, guys, make sure you have some systems in place so that you can keep track of not losing money, basically. Now, the second thing on this list that I learned over this year is, how much harder it is to maintain 6-figure revenue months versus like 5-figure revenue months, okay? And what I mean by this is basically, when you're doing 5-figure revenue months or even 4-figure revenue months, it's pretty easy, right? You know what you're doing, you know how to manage this. Capital isn't too big of an issue to really flow with, right? Like, it's not hard to maintain. But once you start hitting those 6-figure months, I mean, it gets a bit much more difficult, right? Because now you're at a much larger scale. There's much more to keep track of. There's much more that you have to spend on, and just a lot of stuff that goes in between that no one talks about, right? And so, for those of you who are looking to grow to those type of months, again, it comes down to systems, right? Have them in place. Make sure you're just keeping track of everything, and make sure you're managing your cash flow correctly too, okay? As a beginner Amazon seller, when you're doing those 4 or 5-figure months, it's easy to be like, okay, I'm just going to spend this much, not have a plan, not save anything aside for taxes, lawyer, just whatever. But once you start hitting those 6-figure months, guys, you really need to sit down with yourself, go over your business, and actually start maintaining your business, okay? Because at this scale, it is much more, I guess you could say, high risk, because you're putting more money into the business. And so you need to take precautions to mitigate that risk, all right? So like for me, I've started putting money aside for rainy days way more. I've put money aside for like a good lawyer should something happen to my account, which, that account's pretty straight. And just stuff like that, right? So just having stuff on retainer, insurance, like just stuff like that where you want to really protect yourself more, just as you start growing and scaling your business, okay? Because you don't want to keep growing and growing, and then something happens to your business, and then you're just like stuck wherever and not knowing what to do, no game plan whatsoever, and then you're out of business. All right, so yeah, just be careful if we're gonna try to achieve those 6-figure revenue numbers or higher. You need to get your shit in place, like straight up. Number 3 on this list is kind of something that, not really a lesson, but just something I've witnessed in general, and that is how much easier wholesale is versus online arbitrage. Like, I know a lot of people will go into the OA space, and because it is easy, right? OA is easy to get into. It's easy to start with. You can look for a product, buy a product, flip a product right now. Versus wholesale, in the beginning, the work is very big, right? You have to source the suppliers, you have to contact the suppliers, try to open an account with the suppliers, and then source the catalogs, which have hundreds, thousands, if tens of thousands of products, and hope that you find something. But I can honestly say, guys, that if you can get that, past that barrier in wholesale of all those steps versus with OA, man, wholesale gets so much easier, just so much more simple. The systems are just 100% much better. And I just, guys, I cannot stress enough how much easier wholesale actually is. Now, of course, wholesale does come with some risk in its own, aspect and whatnot. So, do take that into consideration. But man, wholesale is much easier. And for those of you who are willing to put in the work, put in the reps, put in the time, and really just, taking your time with suppliers, you will come out way much on top than those who are doing arbitrage, because man, like, it's just so much easier. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's that easy. So, but yeah, don't believe me, just give it a try and you'll see what I mean. Number 4 lesson that I learned, throughout the entire year, and this was obviously something that happened, in the midst of Q4, and that's going super deep on one particular ASIN, right? In the Amazon space, we're always talking about going wide, not deep. But sometimes, especially when you're in the wholesale game, you have to go deep sometimes if you really want to maximize your profits with certain products, especially if they're, higher margin and very fast volume. And, that's what happened to me. I found a product that was literally both. That product was flying. We were restocking, and then something happened to the listing, and then, yeah, it got taken down. We were stuck with that inventory for a minute. Had to find a different listing, and lucky for us, that listing is actually picking up so well. So, it ended up working out for us. But still, that's a lesson that you don't want to learn until it's too late, right? So, for those of you, especially if you're trying to get into wholesale, understand the risk of going so deep on one ASIN and try to mitigate your risk, because now I can say that only for me, I am mentally prepared to handle, situations like this, but I can't say that the same for everybody else. So, because we're all different, risk diversified. So yeah, know yourself and understand how deep you want to go on some of these ASINs, because guys, trust me, it is no joke when you're sitting on like 20, 30, 40K on inventory that you can't move fast enough, right? So yeah, that was a huge one for me. Going into 2024, I don't plan on going like that too deep unless I don't know, just something. But yeah, that was a major lesson for me. And then number 5, guys, and this is something that I learn every single year, is that there is always something to learn, all right? Whether it's with your business, whether it's with yourself, does not matter. There is always something to learn. And anybody who tells you that you can learn nothing else after a certain point is completely lying to you, okay? Because as you start growing, you start scaling, you start learning about, different systems, different, just different everything, right? Different mindset, different mentors, different groups, like, because there's levels to this stuff when you start growing and scaling, okay? The same little Discord groups that you start with when you're, hit your first 4 figures is not the same groups that you're going to be with when you're hitting like 6-figure revenue months, right? So, but yeah, man, there's always something to learn, something incredible. And yeah, I mean, dude, it's just been a wild year, right? Like, it's just been crazy. So many ups and downs, but definitely way more ups. We hit our first 7-figure revenue, yearly. So that officially makes us a 7-figure seller for sure. And yeah, I mean, aside from that, we've been able to maintain 6-figure months basically for the past 10 months or so, which I didn't think I would be able to, if I'm being honest. But we did. We managed to hit that. And yeah, it's just been a while, right? But yeah, so, But all in all, guys, these are my top lessons, mistakes that I learned all throughout 2023. And hopefully, if you stuck to the end of this video, you learned a thing or two, or take notes and whatnot. So, but without further ado, guys, I don't want to take any more of your time. I will see you in the next episode. And really, as always, guys, peace.